The struggling widow clutched her wedding dress against her chest while her son coughed blood into the Colorado dust. Evangeline May Thornfield had sold everything else. The rocking chair her mother carved, the silver locket with her father's photograph, the last of her husband's mining tools. Nothing left but Irish silk and desperation. Jasper doubled over in another fit. 8 years old and already acquainted with death, Dr. Henderson had been clear that morning. $20 for the medicine. $20 by sunset, or start digging. The dress felt heavier with each step toward the general store. 3 generations of Irish women had worn this gown. Her grandmother smuggled it from County Cork in a flour sack. Her mother added the pearl buttons during the war. Evangeline herself had shortened the hem for her own wedding day. Now it would buy her son another week of breathing. The afternoon sun carved shadows between the buildings. Copper Falls had the hollow look of a town losing its fight. Empty storefronts stared like dead eyes. Even the saloon sat quiet. The silver mine that built this place had played out 2 winters back. Most folks had moved on. Evangeline should have followed them. The general store's bell barely whispered when she entered. Mrs. Patterson looked up from her ledger. Her expression softened at the sight of the wrapped bundle. "Oh, honey, I need $20. Mrs. Patterson's hands trembled as she unwrapped the silk. The dress caught the dusty light streaming through the window. Even here, even now, it held its beauty. "It's lovely, dear. But I can't offer more than $15. $15. $5 short of saving her boy." The bell chimed again. A man's boots crossed the threshold. Evangeline turned to see a stranger studying her with eyes the color of winter storms. Tall and lean, with silver threading his dark hair. His clothes spoke of long roads and longer nights. "Pardon me." His voice carried the education of back east, roughened by frontier wind. Couldn't help but notice the dress. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward. "This is a private matter, mister." The stranger ignored her, his gaze fixed on Evangeline. "Irish. Silk, Cork County, if I'm not mistaken." Evangeline's breath caught. "How did you know?" "The stitching. The cut." He moved closer. "My wife had one similar," had past tense. "I'd like to make an offer." He reached into his coat. $60. The world tilted. Mrs. Patterson gasped. Evangeline gripped the counter to stay upright. $60, she whispered. "Cash money." He placed 3 $20 gold pieces on the counter. They gleamed like small suns. Evangeline stared at the coins. Enough for medicine. Enough for food. Enough to buy Jasper time. Why? Something dark flickered in the stranger's eyes. Another soul to honor. The words sent ice through her veins. But Jasper coughed again outside, and the sound made her decision. Sold. The stranger's hands shook as he lifted the dress. He held it like something sacred, something lost. "What's your name?" Evangeline asked. "Silas Crow Weatherby." She pocketed the gold and fled. Dr. Henderson counted the money twice before handing over the small brown bottle. "Give him a spoonful. Every 4 hours. Keep him warm. Keep him still." Evangeline clutched the medicine like a lifeline. Outside, Jasper waited on the doctor's porch. His fever had broken, but his skin still held that wincey pallor. "Mama, did you sell Grandmama's dress?" "Yes, baby." "I'm sorry." She knelt beside him. "Don't you be sorry for needing to live." They walked home as shadows lengthened. Their cabin sat at the edge of town, small and weathered, but still standing. Evangeline administered the first dose of medicine and tucked Jasper into bed. Then she allowed herself to cry. The tears came quiet and steady, for the dress, for her husband buried in the cemetery, for the life she'd planned that never came to pass. A knock interrupted her grief. Silas Weatherby stood on her porch. Hat in his hands, those storm-colored eyes studying her face. "Mrs. Thornfield, Mr. Weatherby, might I have a word?" Every instinct screamed danger. Decent men didn't appear with gold coins and cryptic words about honoring souls. But decent men were scarce as rain in Copper Falls. Speak your piece. I have a proposition. I already sold you what I had to sell. This is different. He stepped closer. Not threateningly, more like a man approaching a spooked horse. I don't want your hand in marriage, Mrs. Thornfield. I want something far more valuable. Her heart hammered. What? I want you to help me honor the dead. The words hung in the cooling air. Evangeline gripped the doorframe. I don't understand. Come with me. Bring your boy. I'll ensure he lives to see manhood. Come where? Silas gestured toward the darkness beyond town. I have work to finish. Work that requires someone who understands loss. And if I refuse? His expression darkened. Then you'll be burying more than wedding dresses before winter's end. The threat chilled her blood. But something in his tone suggested he wasn't the danger. Something else was. I need to think. Dawn, Mrs. Thornfield. Meet me at the cemetery at dawn. He turned and melted back into the shadows. Evangeline stood in her doorway long after his footsteps faded. Inside, Jasper slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. The medicine was working. But medicine wouldn't last forever, and winter was coming. She closed the door and leaned against it. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the scent of coming snow. Tomorrow she would have to decide. Trust the mysterious stranger who spoke of honoring the dead, or watch her son slowly die in the approaching cold. Dawn crept across the cemetery like spilled milk. Evangeline found Silas standing beside her husband's grave, his silhouette carved against the pale sky. A covered wagon waited at the cemetery's edge, 2 horses stamped in the morning cold. Jasper pressed against her side. The medicine had brought color back to his cheeks, but his breathing still carried that telltale wheeze. You came, Silas said. I had to. He gestured toward the wagon. Everything you need is there. Food, blankets, more medicine for the boy. Evangeline's chest tightened. What's the cost? Your help, nothing more. She studied his weathered face. Lines mapped around his eyes told stories of sleepless nights and hard decisions. His hands bore the calluses of honest work, but something in his bearing spoke of a different life. Help with what? Silas walked to the wagon and pulled back the canvas cover. Evangeline's breath caught. Wedding dresses filled the interior. Dozens of them. White silk and ivory lace folded with careful precision. Each one wrapped in tissue paper, preserved against time and weather. Her grandmother's dress lay on top. Sweet Mary, she whispered. Jasper peered around her skirts. Mama, why does he have all those dresses? Silas knelt to the boy's level. Because every dress tells a story. Stories that shouldn't be forgotten. What kind of stories? The kind about love, about loss, about women who mattered. Evangeline touched one of the dresses. The fabric felt cold as winter morning. Where did you get these? From women who needed to sell them. Women who had nothing left. The truth hit her like a physical blow. Other widows. Other desperate mothers. Other women who had stood where she stood now, choosing between memory and survival. You collect them, she said. I preserve them. For what? Silas stood slowly. His knees popped in the morning silence. I'll show you. But first you have to decide. Come with me, or stay here and hope $20 worth of medicine lasts the winter. Evangeline looked at her husband's grave, Thomas Thornfield. Beloved husband and father, the lie carved in stone. He hadn't been beloved when he left. Hadn't been much of a husband or father either. But the truth was harder than the lie. Where? Are we going? North, into the mountains. How long? As long as it takes. Jasper tugged her skirt. Mama, I want to go. I want to hear the stories. Silas's expression softened. Smart boy. Stories are the only things that outlast the telling. Evangeline studied the wagon again, all those dresses, all those stories, all those women who had faced the same choice she faced now. I'll come. But I want answers. You'll have them. In time, they loaded their few possessions into the wagon. Evangeline sat on the driver's bench beside Silas. Jasper nestled between them, wrapped in a wool blanket. The horses leaned into their traces, and the wagon rolled forward. Copper Falls fell away behind them. The first day passed in silence. Silas drove with the steady patience of a man who had traveled long roads. Jasper dozed against Evangeline's shoulder. The medicine was working, but the boy still tired easily. They made camp beside a creek as the sun painted the sky red. Silas built a fire with practiced efficiency. No wasted motion, no unnecessary words. Tell me about the dresses, Evangeline said. Silas stirred the fire. Sparks rose into the gathering darkness. What would you like to know? How many women? 43. Including yours. 43 women who had sold their wedding dresses. 43 stories of love turned to desperation. What happened to them? They lived. They died. They endured. That's not an answer. Silas looked at her across the fire. His eyes held depth she couldn't read. Some found new lives. Some found peace. Some found nothing but harder roads. Which one will I find? That depends on you. Jasper stirred in his sleep. His breathing sounded easier here in the clean mountain air. Evangeline smoothed his hair and felt something that might have been hope. The second day brought them higher into the mountains. Pine trees crowded the trail. The air grew thin and sharp. Jasper rode in the wagon bed, playing with carved wooden animals Silas had given him. Where did you get these? The boy asked, holding up a wooden horse. Made them myself. You're good at carving. I'm good at many things. Evangeline studied Silas's profile. What did you do before this? Before what? Before collecting wedding dresses and telling stories. His hands tightened on the reins. I helped people. How? The same way I'm helping you now. Another non-answer. The man was a walking collection of secrets. The third day brought storm clouds. They gathered like bruises against the mountain peaks. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of rain and something else. Something that made the horses nervous. Storm coming, Silas said. Bad one? Bad enough. They made camp early in a grove of sheltering pines. Silas strung canvas between the trees, creating a lean-to. Evangeline prepared a simple meal while Jasper gathered kindling. The first drops fell as they finished eating. Within an hour, the storm hit with mountain fury. Rain lashed the canvas shelter. Lightning split the sky. Thunder rolled through the valleys like the voice of an angry god. Jasper huddled against Evangeline, trembling, not from cold, from fear. It's just noise, baby, she whispered. But she was wrong. The storm was doing something to him. His breathing turned shallow. His skin grew clammy. The fever was returning. Silas, she called over the thunder. He looked up from tending the fire, saw Jasper's condition. His entire demeanor changed. The cowboy disappeared. Someone else took his place. Silas moved with sudden purpose. He dug through his pack and pulled out a leather case. Inside, instruments glinted in the firelight. Medical instruments. What are you doing? Evangeline asked. Helping your boy. He knelt beside Jasper. His hands moved with practiced precision, checking pulse, listening to breathing, feeling for fever. Fetch me water. Hot as you can make it. Evangeline obeyed without question. This was not the same man who had driven the wagon. This was someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Silas mixed herbs from his pack. His movements were swift and sure. He spoke in low tones, using words she didn't recognize. Medical terms. Drink this, he told Jasper. The boy obeyed. Color returned to his cheeks within minutes. Evangeline stared at Silas across the fire. "You're a doctor." He packed his instruments. "Away. I was, long time ago. What happened?" Silas stood and walked to the edge of their shelter. Rain drummed against the canvas. Lightning illuminated his face in stark relief. "I lost everything that mattered." "Your wife?" "My wife, my daughter, my practice, my name." The words fell into the storm-filled darkness. Evangeline felt the weight of them. "How?" "Cholera epidemic. Boston, 5 years ago. I was across town treating wealthy patients while my own family died in our home." His voice carried no self-pity, just the flat recitation of facts. "I came home to find them both dead, my wife in our bed, my daughter in her arms." Evangeline's throat tightened. "I'm sorry. The medical board blamed me for the outbreak. Said I carried the disease from house to house. They stripped my license, destroyed my reputation. So you came west." I ran west like a coward. The storm began to ease. Rain gentled to a whisper against the canvas. "That's why you help people," Evangeline said. "You're trying to make up for what you lost." Silas turned back to the fire. "I'm trying to save lives I should have saved the first time." "And the dresses?" "Reminders of what love looks like when it's forced to choose between memory and survival." Jasper stirred in his sleep. His breathing was deep and regular now. The crisis had passed. "Where are you taking us?" Evangeline asked. "To a place where those dresses can tell their stories. Where the women who wore them can be remembered. A cemetery?" "Something better than a cemetery." The fire settled into glowing coals. Around them, the mountain night grew quiet. Somewhere in the darkness, an owl called. Evangeline studied Silas in the dying light. A broken doctor carrying the weight of 43 women's stories. A man who had lost everything trying to save what little he could. "What's your real name?" she asked. "Dr. Silas Weatherby. Harvard Medical School, class of 1856. The revelation settled between them. No more mysteries about his knowledge, no more questions about his resources. "Why tell me now?" "Because your boy is alive. Because you trusted me when you had no reason to. And because you need someone to help you carry the weight." Silas looked at her across the dying fire. "Maybe." Thunder rumbled in the distance. The storm was moving on, leaving the air clean and sharp. Tomorrow they would continue their journey. Tomorrow she would learn what Dr. Silas Weatherby planned to do with 43 wedding dresses and their stories. Tonight she simply watched. Her son sleep peacefully for the first time in months. The valley opened before them like a cupped palm, hidden between mountain ridges, sheltered from wind and weather. A creek ran through its heart, singing over smooth stones. Meadow grass grew thick and green despite the advancing season. But the dresses claimed Evangeline's attention first. They stood in perfect rows across the valley floor. 42 wedding gowns displayed on wooden forms, each surrounded by a circle of white roses. Stone markers sat at the base of each display, carved with names and dates. The afternoon sun turned the silken lace into something ethereal. "Sweet Mary," Evangeline whispered. Jasper pressed against her side. "It's beautiful, Mama." Silas climbed down from the wagon. His movements held a reverence she hadn't seen before. This was his sanctuary, his cathedral of memory. "Welcome to the Garden of Remembrance." They walked among the displays. Each dress told its story through careful presentation. A simple cotton gown with hand-sewn buttons spoke of frontier pragmatism. An elaborate silk creation with pearl beading whispered of lost wealth. A worn but clean dress with careful mending showed love that endured hardship. Evangeline stopped before one marker. Sarah Mackenzie, age 23. Beloved wife and mother. Taken by fever, 1871. She sold her dress to buy medicine for her twins, Silas said. It didn't work. All 3 died that winter. The words hit like physical blows. Evangeline's chest tightened. And Margaret O'Connor? Sold her dress to pay for her husband's burial. Froze to death the following winter. Ruth Sampson? Sold her dress to buy passage west. Died of cholera on the trail. Each story carved itself into Evangeline's heart. These women had faced the same impossible choice she faced. Sell the symbol of their love to survive another day. Most hadn't survived. How do you know all this? She asked. I followed their stories. Tracked down what happened after they sold. Their dresses, some lived, some died, all mattered. Jasper wandered among the displays, his small hands trailing over the rose petals. Mama, why are they all here? So they won't be forgotten, baby. But why wedding dresses? Silas knelt beside the boy. Because a wedding dress represents hope, love, the promise of forever. When a woman sells her wedding dress, she's selling her dreams to buy another day of life. That's sad. It's also brave. They made camp at the valley's edge. Silas had built a small cabin here, rough but sturdy. Inside, shelves lined the walls. Books filled every available space. Medical texts, histories, journals bound in leather. You've been recording their stories, Evangeline said. Someone had to. She pulled a journal from the shelf. The pages were filled with careful handwriting, names, dates, stories of love and loss and desperate choices. Mary Sullivan sold her dress to buy seed corn. Grew enough to feed her children through the winter. Remarried 2 years later to a good man who understood her sacrifice. One of the lucky ones, Silas said. Elizabeth Grant sold her dress to. Paid debts after her husband's death. Became a seamstress. Died peacefully in her sleep at age 72, surrounded by grandchildren. Another lucky one. Evangeline continued reading. The stories blurred together. Some ended in triumph. Others in tragedy. All carried the weight of impossible choices. That night, she helped Silas prepare space for her grandmother's dress. The 43rd display would complete his collection. What happens after this? She asked. I don't know. You must have a plan. Silas arranged the wooden form with careful precision. I plan to finish the garden, document the stories. Maybe write a book about these women. Then what? Then nothing. I'm not a young man, Evangeline. This was going to be my final work. She studied his weathered face in the lamplight. You're giving up. I'm finishing what I started. Same thing. Over the following days, they established a routine. Silas would work on the garden while Evangeline organized his research. She discovered a gift for writing, for capturing the essence of each woman's story in clear, simple prose. Jasper grew stronger in the mountain air. His cough faded. His appetite returned. He helped tend the roses and listened to the stories with the solemnity of a child who understood loss. Tell me about the lady in the blue dress, he would ask. That's not a wedding dress, baby. That's a traveling dress. But she's sad too. Evangeline would look at her son and wonder when he had become so wise. The work was healing. Giving shape to these women's stories felt like honoring their memory. But it also forced Evangeline to confront her own deceptions. These women had died as heroes. Mothers who sacrificed everything for their children. Wives who honored their husband's memory even in death. Women who faced hardship with dignity. What was she? A liar who had invented a dead husband to cover her shame. The truth ate at her daily. She would sit among the displays, surrounded by genuine love stories, and feel the weight of her falsehood. Thomas hadn't died in a mining accident. He had walked away when Jasper's illness became expensive. Abandoned his family for an easier life somewhere else. But the lie had become comfortable. Easier than explaining why her husband had chosen to leave. The traveling merchant arrived on a Tuesday morning. His wagon creaked up the mountain path, loaded with supplies and mail. Silas had arranged for him to stop by monthly. Letters for you, Doc, the merchant said, handing over a bundle of correspondence. Silas sorted through the mail. His face darkened as he read one particular letter. His hands trembled. "What is it?" Evangeline asked. "News from Copper Falls." He handed her the letter. The words swam before her eyes. Thomas Thornfield seeking information about his wife Evangeline and son Jasper. Last seen in Copper Falls, Colorado Territory. Willing to pay for information. The world tilted. Evangeline gripped the letter until her knuckles turned white. "Your husband is alive, Silas." Sighed. "Yes, he's looking for you. Yes, you lied to me." The accusation hung in the mountain air. Jasper looked up from his roses, sensing the tension. "I lied to everyone," Evangeline said. "Why?" "Because the truth was harder than the lie." Silas studied her face. "He abandoned you. When Jasper got sick, when the medical bills started coming. He said he was going to find work, send money." She laughed bitterly. "I waited 6 months before I admitted he wasn't coming back." "So, you told people he died." "It was easier than admitting my husband chose to leave." Silas walked to the cabin door. He stared out at the garden, at the 42 displays honoring genuine love stories. "I built this place for women who loved truly, who sacrificed for love, who died for love. I know, you don't belong here." The words cut deeper than any blade. Evangeline felt something break inside her chest. "Neither do you," she said quietly. "What? You're not honoring these women. You're hiding from your own guilt, using their stories to avoid facing your own." "Failures," Silas turned, his face dark with anger. "Those women died because I wasn't there to save them. These women died because life is hard and medicine is expensive and sometimes love isn't enough. You can't save everyone, Silas. You couldn't save your wife and daughter. You can't save all of us. I saved your boy. And then you brought us to a graveyard. A beautiful graveyard, but still a place where you worship death instead of choosing life." The truth hung between them. Two broken people who had been using each other's stories to avoid confronting their own. "What do you want me to do?" Silas asked. "I want you to stop hiding. Stop collecting dead women's stories and start living your own." "And what about you? What about your lie?" Evangeline looked at her son, still tending the roses with gentle hands, still breathing easily in the clean mountain air. Still alive because she had made the hardest choice of her life. "I'm not ashamed of my lie anymore," she said. "I told it to protect my son, to give him a father worth mourning instead of a father who chose to leave. And now I have to decide if I keep running from Thomas or face him." The merchant was loading his wagon to leave. Soon the letter would make its way back to whoever had written it. Soon Thomas would know where to find them. "You could stay here," Silas said. "Hide in the mountains, I could. But then I'd be just like you, building a beautiful monument to avoiding the truth." Silas looked at the garden, at the 42 displays that had consumed 5 years of his life. "What if I can't go back? What if I can't be a doctor again?" "Then you'll be something else. But you'll be living instead of just existing." The merchant's wagon disappeared down the mountain path. Soon the outside world would come calling. Decisions would have to be made. Evangeline walked among the wedding dresses one last time. Each one told a story of love and loss and impossible choices. But they also told stories of women who had faced their hardest moments with courage. Maybe it was time to face her own. The family arrived at dawn like harbingers of reality. A man carried a small girl in his arms, her body limp with fever. His wife walked beside him, her face carved with the particular desperation of a mother watching her child die. "Please," the man called out. "We heard there was a doctor here." Silas stood frozen in the cabin doorway. The girl couldn't be more than 6 years old, the same age his daughter had been when the cholera took her. "I'm not a doctor," he said. "The merchant said you were, said you had medical supplies." Evangeline stepped forward. What's wrong with her? High fever for 3 days. Won't eat, won't wake up properly. The girl's breathing was shallow and rapid. Her skin held the waxy pallor Evangeline remembered from Jasper's worst days. Silas, she said quietly. No. Look at her. I can't. You can't let your guilt kill another child. The words hit their mark. Silas flinched as if struck, but he didn't move toward the sick girl. The mother knelt in the dirt, clutching her husband's leg. Please, someone told us you saved children, that you had medicines. Jasper tugged Evangeline's skirt. Mama, why won't he help her? Because he's afraid, baby. Afraid of what? Afraid of caring too much. Silas turned away from the desperate family. He walked toward the garden, toward his displays of wedding dresses and memories of the dead. Evangeline followed him. You can't hide from this. I killed my own daughter. No, cholera killed your daughter. I wasn't there. You're here now. The girl's breathing grew more labored. Her father adjusted his grip, trying to make her more comfortable. His wife wept quietly in the morning. Air, what if I can't save her? Silas asked. What if you can? What if I make it worse? She's dying anyway. The brutal truth hung between them. The child was dying while they debated. Silas closed his eyes. When he opened them, something had changed. The doctor had returned. He walked back to the family. With purposeful strides. Bring her inside. The transformation was remarkable. Silas's hands moved with practiced precision. He examined the girl with the focused intensity of a man who had spent years saving lives. Pneumonia, he said. Advanced but treatable. He mixed medicines with careful measurements. Administered treatments with gentle efficiency. Spoke to the parents in calm, measured tones that carried authority and hope. She need constant care for the next 3 days. But she should recover. The parents wept with relief. The girl's breathing eased within the hour. Evangeline watched Silas work and saw the man he had been before grief broke him. Confident, skilled, necessary. Thank you, the father said. How can we repay you? Take care of your daughter. That's payment enough. The family made camp near the cabin. Over the next 3 days, Silas tended the girl with tireless dedication. Evangeline helped where she could, learning to read the subtle signs of improvement. On the 3rd night, the fever broke completely. The girl sat up and asked for food. She's going to be fine, Silas told the parents. You saved her life. Silas looked at his hands. Steady hands that had held death at bay once more. Maybe. After the family left, promising to spread word of the doctor in the hidden valley. Silas sat among his wedding dress displays. But he no longer stared at them with the same reverence. You're thinking about going back, Evangeline said. Copper Falls needs a doctor. People everywhere need doctors. I thought I was done with medicine. You thought you were done with living. They sat in comfortable silence. Around them, the garden held its quiet beauty. But it no longer felt like a tomb. What about you? Silas asked. Thomas is still looking. Let him look. He's your husband. He was my husband. The day he walked away from his sick son, he stopped being my husband. The law might disagree. The law didn't watch Jasper cough blood while Thomas counted the cost of caring. Silas studied her face in the fading light. You've changed. So have you. What do you want, Evangeline? Really want? She considered the question. A month ago, she would have said survival. Medicine for her son. Shelter from winter. Safety from starvation. Now she wanted something different. I want to matter. I want my life to mean something beyond just enduring. It already does. How? You convinced a broken doctor to save a dying child. You helped preserve the stories of 43 women. You chose truth over comfortable lies. I want to do more. Silas was quiet for a long moment. I have a proposition. Not another vow, a different kind of vow. He stood and walked to where her grandmother's dress waited on its wooden form. The 43rd display, the completion of his collection. I don't want to guard your memory, Evangeline. I want to help you build new memories. What do you mean? Come back to Copper Falls with me. Help me establish a proper medical practice. Use your gift for writing to document cases. Teach other women to read and write. As what? Your assistant? As my partner. The word carried weight beyond its simple meaning. Partnership implied equality, shared purpose, mutual respect. And Jasper? Jasper is part of the offer. I'll teach him everything I know about medicine. Give him the education I never had. The chance to give my own son. Evangeline looked at the garden surrounding them. Beautiful in its memorial purpose, but ultimately a monument to endings. What about all this? We'll leave it. Let it stand as a testament to love and loss. Maybe other people will find it. Maybe they'll understand what it means. And if Thomas finds us, then we'll face him together. The vow he offered wasn't the one she had expected. Not protection or guardianship. Not romance or marriage. Something more practical and more profound. Partnership, purpose, a chance to build instead of just survive. I accept, she said. They spent the next week preparing for departure. Silas packed his medical supplies and selected journals to take. Evangeline organized the remaining research, ensuring the women's stories would be preserved. Jasper helped. With solemn importance. He understood they were leaving something beautiful behind to build something necessary. On their final morning, they stood together in the garden. 43 wedding dresses caught the early light. 43 stories of love and loss and sacrifice. They won't be forgotten, Evangeline said. No, but they won't be the end of the story either. They loaded the wagon and began the journey back to Copper Falls. Behind them, the garden settled into patient silence. Ahead, the world waited with all its pain and possibility. 3 months later, Dr. Silas Weatherby hung his shingle outside a small building on Main Street. Inside, Evangeline organized medical supplies and prepared to teach the town's children to read. Jasper helped where he could, his breathing clear and strong in the Colorado air. When Thomas finally arrived, drawn by reports of his wife and son, he found them thriving. Evangeline met him at the door of the medical clinic with calm dignity. I want my family back, he said. You gave up that right when you walked away. The boy is still my son. The boy has a father now, one who chooses to stay. Thomas looked through the window at Jasper, helping Silas organize medicine bottles. The boy had grown in the months since Thomas left, stronger, healthier, happier. I made a mistake, Thomas said. Yes, you did. Can't we try again? Evangeline studied the man she had once loved. He looked smaller somehow, diminished by his choices. No, Thomas. Some mistakes can't be undone. He left that afternoon without pressing his claim. Perhaps he understood that legal rights meant nothing against the bonds forged by care and commitment. That evening, Silas found Evangeline in their shared office, writing in a leather-bound journal. Recording the day? He asked. Recording the story. Which story? The one about a struggling widow who sold her wedding dress to feed her son. And the cowboy who offered her a vow she never expected. How does it end? Evangeline looked out the window at Jasper playing in their small garden, at the town they were helping to heal, at the life they had built together through shared purpose and quiet commitment. It doesn't end, she said. It begins. And that is all to the story for now. Please let me know where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will create a story there. Consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. And if you enjoy our content, click this video on your screen. I promise you, it's worth watching. See you tomorrow.